Hi there, intrepid viewers. Well, leading off the world news today, I've been to the hairdresser. Always an experience. Now, intrepid viewers who have been with me for a few years will know I used to report from Betty from Baghdad. She was wonderful, loved her, but she's retired. So now I go to Saad's Beauty Palace. And chatting yesterday with Saad, he said, Lena, I grew up in Beirut as a Muslim and I went to school and partied with Christians and Jews. None of us were particularly religious. We went to each other's weddings, christenings, bar mitzvahs. What's happened to the world? Interesting thought. Right. So it's not that people can't get on. Dear, oh dear. So we've got some juicies today, not the least of which is George Santos. Far from it being the end of George Santos, it's just the beginning. He is going on a revenge tour like you would not believe. But first, the esteemed Speaker of the House, he who wants the Christian Caliphate, Mike Johnson, he said he's blurred out all the GOP faces in the January 6 footage to protect them from the Department of Justice. Love, I said pet, I said doll. I think the FBI's already got their own copy of the footage and I think they've seen everybody who was there. Really? What he's really doing, of course, is he's protecting anyone from the public who sees the footage and sees these GOP guys either being part of the action or running from the action. That's what he's really doing, you know. Anyway, so let's jump in here. Now, there's a woman called Travion Kuti, and she's one of those, she's a co-defendant in one of the cases. Who can keep track? Georgia. And one of her other co-defendants who shares the surname Floyd, remember his story just a few weeks ago? He was given orders not to intimidate, threaten, or in any way get in the face of witnesses. This is in the case of Ruby Freeman and her daughter Shane Moss. So he came out, wah, 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 and is on his way back to jail. She was given the same warnings and she let rip yesterday with these terrible things, how she's going to, I'm going to say wreck, but really she used the F word, the lives of Ruby Freeman and the others. This is a black woman threatening other black women. This is what we call in sociology lateral violence. So it's like when Hispanic gangs or black on black gangs killing each other and not looking at really the root causes of their situation. So we're seeing classic lateral violence here. What's her name? Travion Kuti. So let's see. Is her bail going to be revoked for breaking these orders? Travion Kuti. I think with her, she's only now realizing, because of course these people don't have the legal representation to protect them that the Yeti has, you know. Right. So I think she's only realized, oh, what do you mean? They can send me back to jail? Oh, didn't know that. Well, here comes the judge. Her defense might be interesting. Her defense could well be, well, and it should be really in many ways, Trump gets away with it. He abuses judges, court staff, wives, families, everyone. Why can't I do it? Right? She's in the diamond and silk mode, you know. Every fascist movement and every thing like that always needs those on side who represent the downtrodden, you know. So I think she's going to use that defense. This is the judge here or the magistrate or whoever deciding they're going to be hard to move. It's very hard to move the night. And this is the Biden card. I think in a way, I don't want to say helps Biden because I don't think he's looking for help in the form of this sort of activity. But I think it's going to make people think. There must be surely in a country of 335 million people or however many Americans there are, people have to be drifting away from the Yeti. So I'm not getting actual jail cards. She might get another warning. We'll follow that up. Now, finally, someone has pulled the plug on Tommy Tuberville, who's been holding up 400 military appointments because he's opposed to abortion. Well, let me break the news, Tommy Tuberville. You don't have to have an abortion, love. No, you don't. Don't worry about it. God help us all. Okay, so now that's moved forward. What have we got here? Trump's retweeted a post, and the post said, if Trump gets elected again, we're looking at a dictatorship, which is a fair enough comment. Yet he loved it, retweeted it. Let me be the fascist leader I've always wanted to be. Let me blame everyone else. Let me just get all the goodies for myself. Let me repress any group who speaks out against me. You know, loved it, loved it. The problem is for the MAGA files, they don't think there's anything wrong with a dictatorship. They just want their dictator in. You know. Oh, and that's the aggravation, isn't it? I digress. These people fight for the right for their freedom of speech. They don't want to be stopped from doing anything they want to do. They allegedly don't want their children brainwashed by damaging things like a gay uncle. And yet they're happy to poison generation after generation with their own stuff. There's got to be pushback on this idea that freedom only goes one way. You know? One way. Well, you know. I think I'm going to christen myself the Queen of Snark. A few people have commented on that in the last few months, and I think I'm going to adopt it, the Queen of Snark. That's me. Okay, so George Santos, not a happy puppy. So we can expect the book for sure because anything that might make money, but also he's saying now, if I'm out, I'm taking others with me. So he's turning on several of the GOP. I don't know the names, but you can look it up. He's threatened several others, including someone called Lawler about finance irregularities, and someone else on insider trading. I think this is good. George Santos could be a perverted sort of savior in a way because it's a miracle the GOP did finally oust him because they've got that razor-thin majority. But he's not going to go quietly. And I think the Dems, as well as the GOP, have to clean up their act with this stuff. So people's heads are going to roll, including one woman he's threatening to out as gay. So what I want to look at here is, will he have momentum with these events? Will George Santos have momentum? He could do a lot of damage, but sometimes damage can be effective. Wouldn't that be the deepest irony in the world? George Santos cleaning up Congress. If you live long enough, you see it all. What's George going to do? Okay. Oh, he's got some dirt. And he's got some proof. Oh. Well, you could say this is George Santos's retirement fund. I think he's holding on to the goodies. All right. Now, including some people who are very powerful, the couple he's named so far are not household names, but they're Congress people. He knows what's been stolen. You know that old saying, it takes a thief to know a thief? Could not be more true. He's very fired up. Ace of Wands, he's intent. But if you don't want to be one of these people, you can pay George. That'll be fine. That'll be fine by him. So I think he's going to be extorting people, if not literally one by one on the phone. The fact he's said these things, they know who they are. And I think money will be offered and accepted to not be part of George Santos's hit list. It's like he's giving them a bit of time. He's sitting on it. He's put the warning out there. Isn't this ironic? It's, whoa. Okay. Now, meanwhile, do you remember when we left off the New York fraud case, Trump's team had called 126 witnesses or something futile and stupid, and now they're inching along. But the most recent one admitted that the valuations on the properties were not proper and not reasonable. So in case he hasn't dug enough of a hole, he's now getting these extra witnesses, and it's very hard to stand up to hardcore cross-examination. It's fine in the bar, it's fine in the sauna, it's fine in the back of a car with Trump. Yeah, I'll tell them, Oh. But when these legal guys and gals, of course, really drill them, they can't handle the heat. They really can't, So, okay, now, oh yes, a couple of things. I digress yet again. I read some interesting stats this morning. Now, just generally, in most countries, small business gets overlooked, and yet small business is the engine room of most countries. Right. So when conservative governments in Australia, the UK, in Canada, the US, anywhere, they always say, well, we represent business interests. What they mean is big business, not small. Okay. Because so many small businesses are run by immigrants, who work 36 hours a day, to provide you with your services. That's not what they mean by business. And I think this is an untapped resource for the Dems, because traditionally our Labor, your Dems, Small business owners tend to be conservative because they associate conservative leaders with tax cuts. The smart thing for the Dems to do is offer tax cuts to small business and install more tax on big business. To me, it's screamingly obvious, but no one wants to do it all over the world. So we have coups and takeovers and experiments in economics. It's really fundamental. Okay, but I was surprised by this stat, which is 90% and up of businesses in the USA are small businesses, and 89% of those businesses employ under 20 people. Right? And they don't get a voice. And if they can be encouraged out of the conservative, oh, well, I hope I get a tax cut, and into the Dems who promise them a tax cut, but you pay for it by taxing the uber wealthy who swan around. Why does Google pay no tax? Why does Apple pay no tax? No comprendo. Okay, so anyway, that was my digression. Trump's cognitive decline. I hate to say it, it is a battle of the geriatrics. It's who's on the best drugs. So I think Biden has to have the pharmaceutical drugs to keep him on board, and the Yeti uses whatever he's always used. But the Yeti's decline is becoming more marked. So let's have a look at this. What mental state is the Yeti in? Mental state of the Yeti. Oh, 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 oh my God. It's a bit further down the tubes than I thought. I'll show you these cards properly in a second. The first major card to turn up is the Wheel of Fortune, like it's time, saying, in other words, it can't be disguised anymore. Before, it was part of his charm. You know, Bush Jr. couldn't string a sentence together if his life depended on it, and it has a certain charm for a certain voter. But he can't disguise it anymore. It's beginning to impact, right? How many times can you overlook the gaffes? It's impacting on the donors, this 10 of Pentacles. He keeps insisting that he won the election against Obama. Look, anyone can have a linguistic slip at any time. God knows I've had my share. However, he seems convinced, that he beat Obama. He sort of invented an entire election that didn't happen, And of course, his whole shtick is he beat Biden. So he's seriously in La La Land. He's floating further out to sea with this. I think we're going to see, probably as the new year kicks in, it's going to be so marked that someone else is going to become his speaker. This is the night going forward. I think we're going to see more Trump rallies with someone else speaking. Like he'll be wheeled out, but he'll only be allowed a few minutes, and he's going to come up with some sort of firebrand, wands of fire. Anyway, file this away. And if we see someone next year speaking for Trump often at rallies, you heard it here first. All right, guys, love you this much, huge much. And thank you for all your comments. And I'll see you next time. Okay, so take care and goodbye from tomorrow. Ciao for now. Oh, I'm putting up another link. I can't remember what it was, but at midnight last night, I thought, oh, I have to let the intrepid viewers see this. So I will put a link up to something on the pinned comments. Take care. Bye.